Hey, how's it going, guys? Jack and Matt here with the Toasty Bros, and today we got a really cool card for you. This graphics card is under $100. It's on Amazon, so you can get it in just a couple days, and on top of that, it is a budget gaming card, and that is very important in today's economy.
We've been taking a look at a lot of these RX 580 2048 stream processor graphics cards, mainly the ones from Aisurix, but this one right here is from another company that has no reviews right now and is $98. The Aisurix card is all the way up to like $122 to like $130. If this one performs as good or better, while also looking better in my opinion, I think this might be the better option, but we have to do some testing. But first, a word from today's sponsor.
As a full-time content creator, we put a ton of trust into SD cards for our business to work, and one brand that we do trust is today's video sponsor, Team Group, and their new T-Create Expert SD cards that support 8K and 4K recordings, backwards compatibility support for USH1, and most importantly, a super durable design that is waterproof, dustproof, electricity resistant, and even more. Having super reliable and durable media to record our content to is essential, and the T-Create Expert SD card is perfect for the job, and it can be perfect for you too. Check the link down below to learn more, and also enter for a chance to win one of 3 SD cards that our friends at Team Group are giving away. Big thanks again to our friends at Team Group for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get into the video, shall we?
So this card's pretty cool. It's an RX 580 8GB with 2048 stream processor, so it's kind of like in between a 570 8GB and like a 580 8GB, but it does have 3 display outs. We have 2 DisplayPort, 1 HDMI. It's a 2-lane card, so it's a full-size card. It has 2 big fans on it. It kind of looks like an MSI Ventus card, but a little bit larger, so it actually fills the case nicely, and yeah, it's just a good-looking card. No branding or anything on it, so don't expect people to look at it and be like, dang, that's a nice MSI card, but in terms of performance, you are going to be able to play games with your friends, even if they're AAA titles.
And the reason I really like this card is the other Aisurix cards go for a very like red and black color scheme. This one's very neutral, so if you're actually trying to color coordinate your build a little bit, this is probably the best option. Now, just a quick rundown of some of the key specs of these 580s. Most of them are most likely reused chipsets from old mining cards that were used very popularly around the world, and now that mining is not that popular, they're like, well, we have these extra chipsets, let's make very budget gaming graphics cards, and it's worked out really well for people. The RX 580 that we have right here has 8 gigs of GDDR5 memory, so it's a bit older, but it does have those 2048 stream processors, which again puts it between like a 578 gig and a 580, and the performance speaks for itself. It does really well. And in terms of what games you can play pretty much anything out there on low, medium settings. But what we're gonna go ahead and do is talk about this test bench real quick, because we really just wanna see, is this card with its 2-fan design and different cooler overall gonna perform the same, better, or worse than the Aisurix model, which costs about $20 to $30 more, and maybe you should be looking at this one instead for your next budget build.
So this is our test bench, ladies and gentlemen, and this features a Ryzen 7 5700X, which is an 8-core 16-thread with a very nice deep cool 240ml liquid cooler on it. We have 16 gigs of PNY Accelerate at 3600 megahertz, and it is dual channel. We have an Asus TUF B550M motherboard. We have a 1 terabyte Team Group NVMe SSD, an XPG 650 watt power supply, and then we have a very nice deep cool case that has plenty of airflow to go around, so we're not going to be choking this graphics card out or anything. And it's the same bench we use for all of our benchmark videos, so you will get to see comparisons to the Aisurix card. Will it be better? Will it be worse? We don't really know yet.
So we're gonna go ahead and slap this thing in the test bench, play some of our favorite titles out there, and see what we can find.
Alright guys, we now have this RX 580 on our test bench. Let's talk about it real quick and dive into some benchmarks. Now, for those who haven't seen our other RX 580 videos where we've tested these 2048 stream processor 580s, they do have 8 gigs of VRAM, but they basically are like RX 578 gigs. On AliExpress, you can buy these things for as cheap as like $70, but the only downside is on AliExpress, you're gonna have to wait a long time for these things to ship to your door, and you might deal with some return issues if anything goes wrong. But on Amazon, a bunch of companies have been selling these cards for a little bit higher, about $100 or more. Aisurix is a card that has sold one for about $122, which the price is getting a little out of hand, and that's why this card was pretty appealing. At $99, you could pick this thing up, and I think it looks a bit better than the Aisurix card. But in terms of benchmarks of this thing, we decided to test the following to just see, is it going to perform like a 2048 stream processor 580 like we think it's going to? And the games we decided to test are as follows. We have Cyberpunk, Forza Horizon 5, Hogwarts Legacy, Call of Duty Warzone, Fortnite, and Rainbow Six Siege, so we have a lot of games to test. Let's dive into it. Now first up in Cyberpunk, 1080p, low settings, but using quality FSR, which is a very important feature by the way. We got an average of 57 FPS, a minimum of 41, and a max of 78. Now FSR is going to be a game changer for these AMD cards, and FSR is becoming much more apparent across a bunch of titles, which we'll see when we go through some of these newer games, especially Hogwarts Legacy. This will allow us to do some upscaling and get really good performance in even really demanding AAA titles like Cyberpunk. Yes, we are running low settings, but we're talking about a $99 graphics card here, getting a minimum of 41 FPS and average 57. It is a little bit below our 60 FPS target, but I was really thinking this card wouldn't be able to run this game at all, and so far it's looking pretty good. Now another game with a built-in benchmark we like to use is Forza Horizon 5, 1080p medium settings. We got that perfect 65 FPS average. Again, this card may be older. It is an old card, but it does have 8 gigs of VRAM, so that does help out compared to some of the other new budget offerings out there that may only have 4 gigs of VRAM, 6500 XT. But this 8 gig of VRAM card, even though it is older, will be able to give you a pretty good playable experience in games like Forza Horizon 5 and, as you saw, Cyberpunk. Now the next game we tested is a game that I did not expect to run well at all, but I was pleasantly surprised. Hogwarts Legacy, 1080p, low settings, but we used the quality FSR again. Big shout out to FSR for really helping us out here. We actually got a 60 plus FPS average with dips into the 50s. That is in Hogwarts, by the way. The Hogwarts location is way more demanding than outside of Hogwarts, or at least in the part of the game that I'm in. You can let me know in the comment section down below if that changes. But then when you go outside of Hogwarts into like the forest area, you get 70 plus FPS. Incredibly playable, very smooth on a $99 graphics card. Now let's go into Call of Duty Warzone 2.0, balanced preset 1080p. Once again, we got FSR 1.0 using the quality preset. One thing to preface, we are using FSR 1.0. 2.0 is not as ideal for these older cards. It more works better with their newer GPUs. So sticking with 1.0, it's actually helping us out a lot here. We were getting 60 plus FPS, 80 to 90 at times. More than playable. Call of Duty Warzone getting 60 FPS is a pretty good setup here. I do want to mention our test bench with the 5700X is a Gen 4 card, so we are getting that Gen 4 bandwidth, but to be fair, that RX 580 really didn't exist when Gen 4 was around, and we were really maxing those things out anyway, so to each is their own. You could go Gen 4 if you just want to make sure you're getting the proper bandwidth, but it is a Gen 3 card, so whatever. Gen 4, just to mention that. But it's pretty crazy to see this $99 graphics card can play Warzone at 60 FPS. Pretty awesome. Now onto some other games that are a little bit more CPU bound, so please take these frame rates with a grain of salt. It could really be the 5700X doing a lot of the work, but we ended up doing Fortnite 1080p. We did not go performance mode because we wanted to actually test this GPU a bit, and we were getting 100 plus FPS, about 150 sometimes, but I really do think we still were CPU bound here. This is more of a test to show if you pair this thing with a capable CPU, you're going to get 100 plus FPS in Fortnite, but realistically, I'd imagine with like a 10100 or 10400, you'd probably be averaging anywhere between, I don't know, like 80 to 90 FPS on these settings, maybe a few dips here and there, and on performance mode, if you have a pretty capable CPU, you'll reach those high refresh rate territories pretty easily. And the last game we tested was Rainbow Six Siege, very high settings, 1080p, and we got an average of 175 FPS, a minimum of 135, and a max of 225. In recap, I like this card a lot. The temperatures, as you can see from MSI Afterburner or overlay software we use in the top left corner, maintained really well. There wasn't any issues where the card was overheating or anything, and I think this model looks way cleaner than the Aisurix card. Yeah, it doesn't have that full backplate, so there's kind of a weird missing piece on the back, but I think for the price, you really can't beat this card. Now, in terms of what I would pair this 580 with, we've done builds with an i3 10100. You could get a good deal on an i5 10400, or you could go i3 12100 and build a $500 PC with these easily all day, every day. And I think the 12100 is probably your best bet because you have a pretty good upgrade path as long as you get a decent B660 board. You keep that graphics card for a while, then slap in something like a 6750 XT or something newer on the used market, or something else that comes out in the future. I mean, you have a lot of upgrade room when you're on 12th gen Intel, so that's probably your best bet for $500. But if you want to go cheap for $400, you could probably do an i3 10100 build with this 580, and it would work out pretty well. I will preface this. this. This video might price hike this card because the same thing happened with Aisurix, and Aisurix was nice of them to send us the card. This one we just went ahead and bought on Amazon ourselves. After people start buying them, they start price hiking them a little bit, which I don't agree with, but they're probably going to do. But I still think if this one even goes up to like $120 and all of them are $120 on Amazon, I would pick this one over the Aisurix model just purely based on the aesthetics alone. But let me know in the comment section down below. Do you like the Aisurix model better? Is there another model at Amazon you want us to take a look at? Let us know down below. But it is really cool to see these rebranded cards popping up in the market because it gives you budget gamers an option that you can buy on Amazon today. Let's go to Ring Jackson back in here to wrap this video up real quick.
All right, guys, we just got done benchmarking our no-name brand 580, and in terms of the comparison to Aisurix, we think it looks better, but the actual performance was about the same. The temperatures were about the same, so it really just comes down to the looks and which one's available and at what price. And this one being under $100 is definitely the more appealing card. Don't forget to always check eBay too, because if you're going with a card that may or may not have a used chipset anyways, you might as well look at an eBay seller with really good reviews, because at one point, I remember about 4 years ago, you could get the 580 8 gigs for around $100 that were name brand, but now you have these guys kind of making these new ones, so maybe they're a better deal. I'm not really sure. We'll have links in the description down below for eBay and for these cards as well.
And one thing I mentioned during the benchmark section of this video is when we made the video about the Aisurix cards, they started getting more expensive. So hopefully this one stays around $100, but if it gets up to like 110, 120, at that point, it's whatever one you think looks the best. They are getting a little bit too pricey for my liking. I think they should stay at $100 for the best value here, but regardless, they're still really cool cards. And if you want to take a look at it, as Jackson mentioned, check the links down below. There'll be fill links. They will help us out. Let us know what you think of this card, and let us know what kind of build you would like to see with this graphics card. Is there a certain CPU you want to see, certain case, certain RAM, whatever? Let us know down below.
So as always, we hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, check out our other two YouTube channels and also our twitch.tv/ToastyBros, and do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
And we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.
So this graphics card right here will end up in a PCBros.tech gaming PC because it's been tested fully, and you'll get a 1-year warranty with it. So even though this card might not have your full trust, you can definitely have our trust.
PCBros.tech, we sell gaming PCs, gaming laptops, and merch. Buy merch, PC Bros and Toasty Bros merch, and use code ToastyBros2 on checkout to save 2% on your next purchase. See you guys later. Goodbye.
All right, short thingy.
Short thingy.
Short thing.